Hey guys, Brent Hull, Wednesday design video. A really difficult farmhouse I was struggling with is a modern farmhouse. And so already you may be going, ding, 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 ding. We got a problem. The materials are these modern materials that are meant to be traditional. And so it ends up looking flat. The homeowner says, hey, can you oomph this up? Can you give it a story or narrative? And so 3 versions. I've got an arts and crafts version, I've got a late Victorian version, I got a traditional version. So I'm curious which ones you'll like. Let me know what you think. Here's the challenge that happens, and this is a modernist architect who's come up with a design for a vernacular, simplified farmhouse, but the problem is with a lot of modern materials, they look cheap. And a lot of modern materials look like they weren't crafted. And so they've got a synthetic siding called out for here. They've got, ugly windows. They've got, obviously a terrible porch. Taking this modern approach to which gives the client a very energy efficient house, okay, which is important, but also trying to infuse some architectural oomph into it, some architectural design. And he said, hey, it's kind of boring. I'd like to kind of elevate it a little bit. So what I did was I just started focusing on this piece, okay? So just the house piece. And I've taken it in 3 directions. And so those 3 directions are an arts and crafts direction, a late Victorian direction, and this kind of traditional house direction. This, in my mind, is a 1910 edition. This is an 1890s edition, maybe an 1880s. And this is anywhere from 1880 to 1920, okay? So my brain has to work within an architectural framework because it informs what the windows should look like, what the doors should look like, what the dormers should look like, what the roof should look like. You're gonna see that I'm gonna take it in about 3 directions here. The first direction is the arts and crafts direction. What I've done is and you'll see the arts and crafts styling has come through. I've got these brackets that support the eave, right? And I've got those over here. You'll see I've changed materials. I've got a siding material here. I've got a shingle material up there. Really, I've lowered the railing. I mean, if you can see that the difference between the railing and that other railing, is up in this area here. It's a foot or so taller than this. So this is, let's just assume that's 3. It looks like it's even taller than that. Then I'm taking mine down to 2. And you'll also see that you can see the roof line and that other ridge below it. I've lifted up the front ridge too, because this, in my mind, needs to announce that it's the entry. And so basically I'm lifting this whole thing up so that it has a little bit more architectural presence. The columns are taller there. And what I've done is I've gone back to this column style where we do these kind of beams and this kind of tie beam together, this kind of Morrison tenon together. There's 3 or 4 different arts and crafts columns you can do here. You can do a tapered column if you wanted, right? And so it could be some other things, and you'll see I even put a tapered column over here because I wasn't happy with the way these were being rendered out and the way that looked. But anyway, I've got an arts and crafts semblance here. And now none of this is going to be, oh my gosh, this is totally arts and crafts. If I wanted to, I could put a shed dormer up here with a bunch of low lights in here if I understood that those dormers even had a purpose. But, the brackets that support the overhang, the columns, the low rail, the window styles are changing a little bit. The materials, this kind of puts an arts and crafts spin on it. Now, the second spin I took, and because he showed me some styles that were kind of late Victorian, I've given it almost a Carpenter Gothic kind of look, where I have basically taken the exact same form, but treated you notice in this one I did 2 windows on this elevation. This one I just went back with a single elevation. I'm basically in that Carpenter Gothic style. You are basically taking the house and giving it a timbered look that is being infilled with siding here. And you can even do these things where the siding goes at different angles through here. It's rustic, it's late Victorian, but I really like this railing that comes across here. This railing isn't communicated in that rendering, but would look really slick because it could have all these chamfered edges and everything. And the column has these chamfered edges in these open spaces, and it looks really handsome. And so I like this style. I don't know, it may be too Victorian for him. Instead of raising the roof here, I've opened up that gable end, okay? And you can see how strong, this little box in here okay, is a big mass of nothing. And what I want to do is want to break that up. So putting this kind of timbered work in here that ties together with these columns really opens this up and announces this is definitely the entry front porch. In fact, there's an arts and crafts version of this that I might even try, where you do these timbered gable ends, kind of in an English arts and crafts look, that you can do as well. And so that one works as well. And then the last one is just this traditional, American one, where basically I've got typical columns in here. If you go back to this sheet here, I've got just a simple column. I did one without a base, kind of a very simple, almost hints at Greek revival, but this one without a base simplifies it. You could also do a square column, and this one has no railing too. So, you don't have to have a railing in this style, but this is just simple columns that come across here, trying to open this eave up a little bit, trying to give this a little bit more prominence. But I've tried to, in showing it this way, to kind of hint at the different opportunities with these different styles. And maybe if I was going to grade them, I'd kind of do maybe that arts and crafts or some version of it, the Victorian, and then the simplified traditional one is something that I'd like. Okay, I guess I'm kind of partial to the arts and crafts or the Victorian. The traditional one's a little flat for me. I think there's a little bit more oomph there. There's other things I got to work on, that garage placement and the size of the garage versus the size of the house. The entry really needs to be lifted up. There's a neat pass-through, kind of an opportunity there that I didn't even get to sketch on yet. So a lot of things still to work through with this client. Should be a lot of fun. Again, let me know which one you guys liked best. I'm Brent Hull. Thanks for watching.